All right. People. So typically I would, put up a song and stuff like that. My theme song. I don't know if you've heard of it. But anyway, so I have a great guest today. And he go by AJ. And pretty honored to have him around because this is a pre-recorded one. I'm going to upload this later. Just, to tell people out there. All right. So, do you want to introduce yourself? Actually,
Yeah, my name is Avery. So I'm actually an electronic engineer background. I currently work in IT, so I kind of had a career shift a couple years ago away from embedded technologies, and I worked a little bit as a manufacturing engineer, again electronics, and I currently own a computer repair business. I do micro soldering repairs. Um, I like talking about science and physics and stuff like that, and
not so
I'm
much
kind of a
about
science
stock,
buff.
huh? But for some
I
reason,
mean, well, no, it's well, I'll give you my background because I want to be honest that I don't have any degree in actually I don't have any degree at all technically, but
mm,
my point is I don't have like any kind of training or anything in finance. I'm not like a financial expert or anything.
good.
I just like to do research, just like I do for anything else, so that
Mm-hmm.
I like to really look into things and have a good understanding of them. Um,
That's great,
and
though. I mean, I feel
so
like
I mean,
you're
and
the
so,
most smart
so
person that I've ever
I want
met.
no, I'm not, not no, no, no. But I do like knowledge in general, but
uh,
um I
it's
try
okay.
to be try to be transparent when there's things that I'm more confident about versus less.
Uh-huh.
Like I mean, I'm sure you've heard sometimes I'm like I suspect like I'll use that word if I'm making, assumptions or certain suspicions or
Hmm.
um I try to be pretty transparent about things that I'm very confident about versus things that are more
Gotcha. Gotcha.
subjective answers.
Well, good
So
thing is that, we're not here to give any financial advice or anything like that. It's just me liking to talk about GameStop and all that stuff. And so tell us, how do you get into GameStop?
Actually, I saw basically like the rest of you, Roaring Kitty. I mean,
The first
I
time or the second
what he had
time?
to say was very compelling. That when he was able, oh, I'm sorry, when Roaring Kitty actually figured out that so much of the stock was shorted more than that it was possible, I was
Uh-huh.
like, huh, okay. And that's when I really started to take a deep dive into it,
Oh.
and I realized that he's probably right. That and I mean, not even just looking at the data, but even just looking at um. I actually have a personal experience with GameStop too, and even growing up, even to this day, if a lot of kids, I mean, you don't see a lot of adults there, but you see a lot of kids go there not just to purchase things, but to actually go and trade games or sell games that they don't want
Mm.
anymore, and exchange the games, and it makes it really easy, and it's a painless process. You don't have to file paperwork like you do at places like online exchanges. You don't have to show your ID. Kids can go and bring their old games there and exchange it. And that makes it really, really it makes the process really easy. And
Mhm.
I also used to hang out there, and I used to know a lot of people that would just hang out there to look around at stuff and play some of the games on the shelf. And so there isn't really any alternatives to that. And gaming as an industry is huge. And so that really I kind of gave it some thought and realized that there isn't really a reason why GameStop couldn't be doing well. They have the entire market corner, and even to this day, they're the only. I mean, what no one's going to call Walmart, like no one goes to Walmart to go and buy a game. I know that they sell game consoles and they sell games behind glass. Nobody is really doing that. Let's be
Mhm.
honest with you.
Right.
So that's so that's kind of what made me realize that that was totally correct. Um,
Mm. But
that
was it like the first
there is
time
no
he
reason.
he was talking about how it was highly shorted and all that stuff? So you were the OG actually then.
Well, I mean, everybody else also got in kind of most people. They saw what was happening because it blew up the internet. Basically, it was all over
Ah,
Twitter
okay.
before it turned to X.
I see.
And so at the time, I had basically just been investing in simple, mostly VTI, total stock index United States balanced
Right.
by
Yeah.
market cap,
Mhm.
or various. I mean, a couple of things like Nvidia. I had a little bit of Bitcoin.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
I had So
Just a
I'm
bunch
not
of
new to
random
investing,
stuff that
and
is not
I
GameStop.
at the time, right? But at the time, I already understood how contracts work and how trading works,
Mm-hmm.
and I also was buying or selling covered calls and cash secured puts on
Okay.
which is it's called a roll. People that just stock that they plan on holding anyway, and they're just going to hold forever.
Right.
They'll
Right.
basically hold on to it and then continue
Mm-hmm.
selling the um, covered calls until somebody, until maybe. I mean, if you price it high enough, you don't really expect it to sell. But
Right.
honestly, you don't expect it to shoot up that much. And if it does, you're like, well, I still made a good, still made money. Cool, a little bit.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then once it sells, you do the same thing, but you price cash secured puts, but you have the
Mm-hmm.
cash in your hand and your
Yeah.
wallet, and you just keep selling puts every month over and over again.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, I got to tell you, like this community, there's a lot of diehard fans out there, and they would discourage people from doing that. And I typically don't understand that. Like to me, that's just the natural way of like free market, right? People could do whatever they want with their shares, whether they want to write call against it or not. That's up to them. But I could tell you, like, there's so many people who are like, "Ah, don't do that. If you do that, you're not really, the true friend. What is it? Diehard fan of GameStop. Like, you're not really a good investor if you do that."
yeah, well, I wasn't really doing this with GameStop at the time.
Yeah.
I did
Oh, I see. I
later,
see.
I actually did, but at the time when I started, I was already doing this on other stocks.
Yeah.
And the way that now it also depends because right when it started getting really big, I actually paused selling. I wasn't selling cash secured puts or covered calls. And the reason is I didn't like fear of missing out mostly,
Right.
that
Of course.
I suspected, because at that point I started to realize that the reason why the price was so low is because people were just so sure it was just going to go bankrupt. And once it got really large because people realized that it actually has a chance. My thing is that if it fails, there's a good chance that it will, but and that wouldn't be because of any fault of its own, but because there are large institutions that have a lot of they have a lot of stake, and um,
Mm.
but the thing is that if it's actually if successful, if GameStop is able to, um, I guess, get out of the rut. I know right now is not a good time for the game industry in general because people don't have a lot of spending money. People don't really have a lot of
Right.
disposable income at the moment. But
Exactly.
even still, gaming as an industry is huge. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it is a huge industry. And this is coming from someone who works at a game studio developing an MMORPG.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to name which one, and I'm not going to say the name of the game studio, but if you're a League of Legends player or World of Warcraft player,
Mm-hmm.
you might know it. There's a recently had some testing, like game testing, that you can play, and
Yeah.
they were in the second phase. If you know, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, we could talk about that later, if you
no,
want to
I was just
share
giving
more.
context. I didn't really care to talk about it any more than that. But
um,
my point is that my perspective is I've seen how gamers are and that they're willing to spend
mhm.
money.
So,
And
what is your perspective on like in-game items and all that stuff? Is it feasible to have like NFTs and all that stuff, blockchain related?
so I don't know. So I don't mind in-game items inherently, but I don't like pay to win. And so
Mm.
in-game items like skins are great because they're like NFTs. They're just collectors slash trading items. It's the same as when people collect coins. The actual value of a quarter, no matter what, or even dollar bills. You've seen people collect them based off of the certain, like the serial numbers of them, and like if they're all in order, they're worth more, and they have some value there. But they're really just like trading or the fact that you can purchase at the face value, you can purchase cards, Pokemon cards, or um, Magic the Gathering cards, or anything else. But they actually have a lot more value because people like to trade them, and it's fun, and it really is a lot of fun to trade them,
Mm.
and it's a little bit of gamification when you go and purchase packs and you open them and you see what's inside of them.
Mm.
And um, yeah, I don't. I have I'm not really sure what else to say at this point. I'm sorry.
Okay, no worry, no worry. I mean, it's it's something that I've been thinking about, like how they could, get into that market if they wanted to. But it's a little bit early on in the development, because the blockchain, the whole NFT marketplace, and all that stuff was just like a proof of concept, and they already have the platform already when they built it on Loopring. I don't know if you kind of follow that a couple years ago.
Not too closely.
Not too closely. Okay, that's fine. I mean, but I really think that they're rolling back. So let's kind of push that topic, and I think this is kind of along the line of what they're doing with this push start arcade thing. Remember, I share you the video and all that, where they break packs, and I'd like to hear your view on that as well.
Okay, well, first of all, it's gamification of anything is really addictive, and like almost to a fault. I mean, this has been kind of understood even with things like Candy Crush, and just it being so. There's a psychological aspect to it that people really like, or that people purchase, like in-game gambling is like a thing, like, and it's addictive, even exploitative, almost to the point where it's almost exploitative. But I think that the whole push to start arcade kind of takes advantage of that same kind of gamification addiction, and it can be really popular because it does provide a lot of entertainment. And
Right.
I arcades used to be a lot more popular than they are,
Mhm.
and it's I think the biggest factor is that everyone has a cell phone now and can play just games in their pocket, and
Right.
it's a combination of that, and also there's a cultural shift that kids don't spend a lot of time outdoors anymore, and people used to all just ride their bikes over and to an
True.
arcade and meet their friends there. And
Mm.
there's almost, and another thing is just like disposable income. People don't really, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but there's almost a
Mm.
cultural shift away from that.
Right.
Um,
Well, it's a
but
niche for sure, right? Because right now they're only doing the, what is it? Pokemon and sport card for now. Baseball, whatever. I mean football, sorry. And so, and still in beta mode at the moment. So it will be open up to the public soon. But what my thought was, oh, sorry, somebody's calling.
well, the thing. Oh, sorry. It sounds
No,
like
no,
you got a phone call.
yeah,
Okay.
no, we don't need it. Sorry,
So
go ahead.
the thing is that with trading cards, so they kind of started doing this with video games. So when you're a kid and you buy a video game, and even if you buy a new game when they first come out, before they're available used, you'll play them for a little bit. And GameStop made it really easy for you to take games that you didn't want anymore and go, and after a little
Mhm.
bit and they are worn out or whatever, you don't really want to play them anymore,
Right.
just trade them in for other games. And every time that happens, I mean, that actually is more convenient because people find it so easy to just trade in games at a place where they can get a good amount of money for it, about the same as they would get on Craigslist or anywhere else for it.
Right.
Because people going to Craigslist at the time, but now it's more Facebook Marketplace, that
Mhm.
people going to those outlets expect to get the games basically dirt cheap. But when people just want the game now and they're just like, oh, I want to go get this game, I'll just go get a used one. That convenience is like right there, and being able to walk in and just browse through the games and purchase them, GameStop gets to get another portion of the revenue from that. And
Mhm.
so people are willing to pay more at GameStop, partially because also GameStop, sometimes they sell discs that are used. They're slightly scratched. That usually doesn't matter because of the error correction code on discs, and you guys all have scratched discs, and they work perfectly fine until they get really bad.
Right.
But GameStop also has that protection that when you buy it and it doesn't work, you can bring it back and exchange it, and
Mhm.
that if you buy it, you can bring it back later and still get some value from it. And
Mhm.
so that's actually provides enough value for people to purchase from them.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
it's
I think
in the
that's what
past, people, and the
most
advantage is
people
that
don't
GameStop.
really have like right now everybody would be, oh, the reason why GameStop is dying is because of software or whatever, right? Or used game items, and they're just reselling refurbished stuff, and how much money can you get from that? And it just speaks to the value that you just described just right now. It has some value there. Like people really seek physical stuff because they're sick
Yeah.
and tired of
So
the digital stuff now. You know.
I kind of actually I slightly disagree with that. I mean, I know that people do lately. There's been more of a shift to that,
Mm.
but I think that partially that GameStop is dying because of the fact that they refuse to, or in the past they had refused to change their business model, and their business model is kind of I want to say obsolete. It's
Mm.
that
They refuse
they need
to
a way to keep
shift
up.
or something, right?
Yeah, and so I
Mm.
think that it's mostly the being able to get games digitally or online made that really easy. Like Steam, for example.
Mm.
Steam, I mean, they're a huge monolith of a company, and
Mm.
the reason why they're so popular is not just because they were the first. It's because they actually treat their customers correctly.
Mm.
That if you purchase a game on Steam and then like even a month later they come out with a bundle that includes like the game plus the add-on.
Mm.
If you purchase the game on Steam and then 2 months later you purchase the add-on, they will actually discount you the difference as if you had bought the bundle in the first place, all transparently and
Mm.
automatically.
Wow.
If you don't like the game and you've played it only like 6 to 8 hours or whatever, I forgot the time. Is it 4 hours,
Mm.
six
I
hours?
think
I,
24 hours. I
I
think.
no, I think it's total playtime. I think
Oh, playtime.
it's playtime because if you buy it and then you wait 2 weeks and then you play it, they'll still refund you if you've played. There's actually a challenge. It's called the there's like a speed run challenge where you download the
Okay.
game, you get 100%, and then you
And then you
refund it
just refund
because
it.
the system will automatically refund you 100% without any contact with the human as long as you have less than a certain number of hours
I
and like
see. I
and
see.
even then. So it's like they made that easy. They treat their customers correctly.
Mm-hmm.
They do take a good chunk of the profits,
Mm-hmm.
but for that they offer everything. And I mean they
Mm-hmm.
offer gamespad, built-in gamepad support, built-in comms support, communication,
Right.
and
And they have
in-game
the
messaging,
Steam Deck
all
and
the
everything
protocols for
too.
that. The Steam Deck is great, but that's not what really the big, because there are other alternatives. They're a good
Mm.
one, but the
Yeah.
Steam Deck I wouldn't even is not
Oh.
even that why they're so popular. It's
Mm-hmm.
purely just because you can put Steam on anything else. That's other game decks too, but
Mm-hmm.
it's more that they they offer all these services that make it so easy to put a game on
Yeah.
there. And it's like you can put a game on there and click two buttons, and now you
Mm-hmm.
have gamepad support. Like it's so easy to import their API and have gamepad support, and the
Mm-hmm.
gamepad support and having the remote play and cross play and multiplayer.
Right.
That they make it so
I
easy to
wonder
do that.
if we have some sort of partnership with or buy Steam, as GameStop. Is it possible,
I
you
don't
think?
I don't think so. I don't think they have enough cash for that because the
I
valuation's
mean,
really
we
high.
have what, $9 billion? That's not enough to buy Steam?
I mean,
No.
let me look up the valuation of Steam. I'm actually not
Okay.
sure.
Or some sort of partnership, like, just like how we're doing with PSA. But I
So
think they're
they
pivoting
they
very
make
hard.
$9 billion in gross sales. Steam.
Nine
So
billion? Oh, okay.
9 billion with a B. So when I
Mm,
say they're huge, I'm not joking.
right.
So
Okay.
Steam has a lot higher margins, lower risk. They're worth more than GameStop, I'm sure. I don't think that GameStop
Mm,
could buy them.
yeah.
Not at the current moment. I'm not saying that means I'm not saying that GameStop
Can't
won't be
grow
worth more. I'm
into,
saying
right.
at this current right now
Yeah.
they don't do that.
Okay.
But when I see the market shift of them trying to switch more towards the market of purchasing digital goods, like even have you seen the kind of prices that people pay for skins for Counter Strike? Now it's Valorant and CS:GO, and people pay a
Mm-hmm.
lot for those in-game skins.
Mm,
And I think that making it easy to, like, for example, um, people like trading cards, and there are a lot of websites to do it, but it's such a pain in the ass. You have to take, like, mail the card in and have them evaluate it, and you have to pay $5, and you get it back with a grading, and then you have to go and either find websites where you can trade and they connect the buyer and seller. Buying and selling is risky. It's like the Wild West, like it was in Craigslist with games. So seeing them go more into things like being able to purchase and sell trading cards is going to be a huge deal.
mm-hmm.
Um, the arcade is great, but I think that that's more to make it more of a hangout spot. I don't necessarily see them at least making a revenue by being a um, arcade, but it's
Mm-hmm.
more that the branding that it makes it a lot easier for people to just go and hang out there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm. I mean, like the physical location of like arcade
right.
Gathering.
Right.
Yeah.
So the physical
Oh no,
location
that's actually
that used to bring people in. So they used to have
right,
Nintendo
right.
DS on a pedestal that you can play with and various consoles that you can play. And
Mm-hmm.
every week or two they would rotate games out so that every
Yeah.
time you go in there every weekend there's a different
Mm-hmm.
game to try out and see if you want to play it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's again, Steam kind of ruined that because Steam lets you basically do the same thing. If you play it a couple hours and you don't like it or whatever, you just click two buttons and get an instant refund. Like
Right.
so, but so it's not that GameStop did anything wrong, but
Mhm.
yeah, their business model I think really needs to change.
Right, right.
That's we're actually seeing that now. That with the way that they're rebranding themselves,
Right. I mean,
that's exactly what we're
Ryan
seeing.
Cohen had a interview on Fox, and he did mention that, we actually flipped the, what is it, software sale. And now the biggest portion of that is collectibles. So it's I'm happy to see that because I feel like this is the niche and high profit margin, high turnaround too, right? It seems like he's rebranding
No,
this thing. No, it's not
it's
turnaround.
not necessarily. Well, yes, most of that's true, but I don't think it's necessarily about the high margin.
Mm-hmm.
What it is that they get to capture that over and over again. So if you buy a trading card pack and then you pay a couple dollars and they made that revenue,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're like, okay, well, none of the cards I wanted are here. And a lot of people will go, and I know that people do this because I play Magic the Gathering every Thursday with
Mm-hmm.
I work at a game studio with about 100 people,
Mm-hmm.
and about 40 of them at a time will play Magic the Gathering on Thursdays. So that's almost 40% of the entire people at the game studio play Magic. That's a huge
Mm-hmm.
number, and I know that my demographic is a little bit skewed because I work at a game studio, so
Right.
that's going to attract certain kinds of people.
Mm-hmm.
But my point is, and so just working around them, I know that they go and they purchase certain packs and like they'll buy like 40 of them and treat it like lottery tickets,
Yeah.
and they'll open them and say and get the ones they want, and the ones they
Mm-hmm.
don't want they'll be like, whatever, I'll just save in a drawer or trade it with others, or they'll just go and sell them all online in exchange for the card they wanted.
Yeah. Yeah.
um but when so I know that GameStop kind of can do the same thing like I was talking about with the games, where you basically get to make a small profit off them returning the games because GameStop, um, when you go back to GameStop and you purchase something, it's guaranteed. It's a retail store. You can go back if there's an issue. People
Mm-hmm.
feel so much safer doing it.
Right.
And so the end result is when you go and sell your game back to GameStop, you actually get to sell it for about the same. They'll pay you the same as like Craigslist will pay you. The difference is that they can pay you that the same and make it easy because they can resell it for 2/3 of the price of the original game or half the price of
Mm-hmm.
the original game. And people will pay that because it's again guaranteed. They can walk in and get it, and if it doesn't work, they can bring it back.
Right.
And so that value, they provide that value that kind of makes it so it's win-win. And
Mm-hmm.
when it's win-win like that, it means that people that are purchasing those cards and then send it back in or have their own cards they bring in to get graded. Right
Mm-hmm.
now, GameStop will grade them, but you have to bring it in and then they have to mail it in, and it's a long process.
Right.
But if they're focusing more on this would make it a lot easier. Being
Mm-hmm.
able to have someone grade cards or have a system in place that can scan both sides and give them an offer immediately.
Mm-hmm.
This is speculative. These are not things that they've announced they're doing, but I'm saying these are potential things that comes
Right.
along with this business model.
Mm-hmm.
That when you do that, that means that people bring their cards back and they trade them, and again, they get as much value as they'd get elsewhere, and GameStop gets to sell it for more than they otherwise would because it's GameStop and they're trusted and they offer that value,
Right.
and they get again revenue from that. And every time people go and trade them again, they get revenue from that. So each card they're
Mm-hmm.
selling, they can take a little piece of revenue that would be less than otherwise, but they're doing it 4 or 5 times as that card keeps
Mm-hmm.
getting passed around.
Right. That's what I
Speculative.
mean
Actually, when I
by
say 4 or 5,
high
this is
turnaround.
just a number that I
Mm-hmm.
threw out there. I don't know exactly. I have to look and do the research to see and kind of estimate how many times the average turnaround would be. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And again, like with this push start arcade thing, I just see the video. I have no access to it yet. But there's an option in which you could sell it right away to them at a 10% discount. So GameStop get 10% right away if, people choose to sell it back to GameStop. And, I think that if this takes off, I feel like this is a new I'm for sure that they're gonna make bank for this.
yeah, so if they can pull this off, they will be making a lot of money, and this is why
Mhm.
this is why the financials at the moment put the price target at like $5, and yet it's a lot above that. And it's because if we were just looking at what they're doing now, their business model is dead and dying. But as soon as what we're looking at is that they also are aware of that. They have a lot of cash that they can invest in the business. They have a lot of cash on hand. I mean, they really do.
Mhm.
Um, and they have a decent amount of assets. And when I say decent, I mean that they have a decent amount of stores that they own. Not all of them are owned, but they
Right.
have a lot of locations, which is a big deal,
Mhm.
and they have the whole market cornered. I mean, GameStop. Who hasn't heard of GameStop? Any gamer has heard of GameStop, and every kid that's ever owned a Nintendo DS has probably visited a GameStop at least a couple times. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but have
Mhm.
any of you ever owned a DS and not gone to a GameStop before?
Mhm.
I doubt it,
Right.
but I mean, maybe.
I mean, the brand
Um,
has been, I mean, it's popular for sure, but for some reason, the financial media is out there. They keep saying that GameStop is not that popular, it's dying and all that stuff. And do you think it's more manipulation on that? What do you think?
can you say that again a little bit?
I'm
Sorry.
saying like all the financial medias out there who are naysayers, so to speak. I, refer to them as like somebody who just,
Oh yeah.
negativity on GameStop all the time, no
Any
matter what they
any
do.
attention is good attention.
Mm.
That anybody has who's talking about GameStop, it's going to actually help because I think it'll just bring attention to what they're doing. And at the end of the day, what they're doing is not going to change, and the value of what they're doing doesn't change.
Mhm.
And so any attention is just good attention, really, at that point. Um,
So how do you feel about the price target of $13.50 for one analyst out here?
I'm sorry,
So
you
there's
cut out
one
for a sec.
analyst out there who have a price target for GameStop at $13.50. Do you agree with that?
No, I'm not saying I agree. I understand where they're coming from.
Okay, well,
It's
explain.
some people weigh different things differently. So some people just look at, they say, oh, what are they doing right now? How much it's going, they have cash on hand and they have a lot of assets, but there's no real way to spend that. It's not like they can just liquidate all their cash. I mean,
Mhm.
the actual cash they'd get out and their assets would be about a third to half of what they actually have. And so some people are just saying, oh, what would be the value? What's the value now? They see that they don't have any real business model implemented yet. They don't have anything tangible implemented yet. They're a slow dying business. And so their revenue's kind of been down over the not it's revenue over the past few, I want to say like 10 years has not been terribly great.
Mhm.
Their income is like break even. They're not, I can understand where that's coming from. And so
Mhm.
the reason why I disagree with it being that low is because of it is speculation, but it's the fact that they do have a good business, they do have a brand name, and they actually do have a model that can potentially work. We have a proven model where we already see people buy and sell, skins and trading cards elsewhere in all these other locations. And GameStop is actually still the location where most people go to purchase these kind of games when they want to buy it in person. And trading cards, other than online, a lot of people go to comic stores, but a lot of people still, especially the younger generation, people that are like, 20 years old and younger, will go directly to GameStop and purchase them. They offer pretty good prices. They offer MSRP, which is about the same as any comic store. Some comic stores offer a little bit of a discount.
Mhm.
Um, and then also, some people are more risk tolerant. So some people weigh that a little bit more. Some people weigh the cash on hand more. Some people say, well, it's weigh more heavily on who's in charge and who. It just depends on how you weigh it. So I can
Mhm.
understand where that price target came from. I just don't agree with it because I feel like that
Well,
price target is assuming that nobody is competent, and it's assuming that everyone has already kind of jumped ship and is planning to abandon it,
mhm,
if that makes
mhm.
sense. And I
Right.
don't I
Well,
don't see that because I actually do see a constant. Oh, I do see, like, it seems like the way that they're trying to shift their market actually makes a lot of sense. It's not like a bunch of just MBA majors just decided to get together. These are actual sensible things that are from a lot of different proven models. Like we already understand how gamification is addicting. Every time you do it, it becomes addicting. I mean, people go to Chuck E. Cheese now and they'll play a bunch of games. They'll spend $100 on their kids playing a bunch of games, and the kids walk away with $4 worth of stuff from China, and they're super happy about it because they got to play games all day. And that's that business model. You sold entertainment, and you didn't you have $4 in materials plus for $100 in revenue. You can be a really big profit margin when you gamify things like that. And so, and I know that that cards have tangible value, but when you gamify it, people are willing to, they'll trade the cards and they'll trade them again, and they'll, like, every time they do that, they're losing 10 or 15%,
You
and
kind
they'll
of
keep putting money into it.
see a
So
few posts
it's the
already
same
where
way. Yeah. It's the same way that, you keep for these useless tickets, for these useless items, but every time you see that count up and you trade them in and you trade them again, it's entertainment. And so it's not, they're making that value from the gamification is not from the cards themselves, because they don't make that much profit on them. And even if they make a profit a couple times, where they're getting the value from is the fact that you get to trade them in over and over again. You're going to buy more of them, and then you sell them, and someone else is going to buy them from you. And, they can put a proper exchange where, where people can not necessarily bid for them, but they have like a price, and the price goes up the more demand there are for them, and it almost kind of like it'd be as if it was some kind of exchange, or a marketplace. But you can really do something like that and have
well, there's an
there are websites where you do that now, and you just build your deck of cards, and people pay membership fees there, and people pay like actual fees in order to go and buy and sell cards and build their deck online, and then order them and get them all shipped there and shipped to them. So we already know that people do that, and I understand that that's a niche thing, but there's a combination. But when I say niche, it's GameStop in general is a niche company.
Of course.
They have the entire market of gamers. I mean, and gamers, there's a lot of gamers out there, but it's like 20% of the market is 20% of people in the United States play games regularly, or something like that. And of those, how many of them are mobile gamers? And those you have to exclude. There's not a lot, but the ones that do, there's still a lot of them, and they spend a lot of money. I mean, games are $80 to $100 now.
Of course. I mean, it's to aim for what is it, millennial, right? Because typically people are into video games. Like, I'm into video games too. Like, it used to be in the 80s, right? We're young and we don't have the money, so they usually make games that targeting parents, right? Something that are feasible for little kid to play. But nowadays, though, there are more demographics. Our generation grow bigger, and in terms of like having more money to spend, so more and more games now are targeting to 40 people in their 40, 30 and 20s, right? So that's just how I'm thinking. And then just more fun in general too, more crazy bosses and all that stuff, but more adult oriented.
If you just do the textbook valuation based off of their fundamentals, $13 is pretty much spot on. It's about $10 plus the Bitcoin.
I disagree with that, because the person that actually do that analysis, his name is Michael Pachter, and he works for Wedbush.
Right, that's kind of my point, is that he's doing it based off of these textbook valuations, and he's missing some of the. That's why I'm saying I understand where it comes from, but I think he's missing some of the biggest factors.
Though, Wedbush had a short position on GameStop, $1 billion. I don't know if they closed it or not, but way back then, when it was like $5 a share or something. So again, ever since then, they've been kind of like trailing. It's like, it used to be $4, now it's like $13, right? But it's always trailing like that.
I do see, but I mean, I still think him applying textbook, just applying textbook mathematics to it and getting that price, it makes sense. It makes sense why he's doing that, but
what my point?
I'm guessing he might be purposely omitting the extenuating factors from
like
on purpose,
social media or hype, or
so the thing is
social
that,
sentiment.
it is risky. They do hold crypto, which means crypto downturns are going to make a difference. It is
Right,
higher
right.
risk.
Mm-hmm.
It is very high risk, and because it's not going to the price even at $13 or $23. The thing is that if that's purely held up there because of the speculation, and so
Mm-hmm.
people understand that it's either going to be a lot higher than that or a lot lower than that. They just
Mm-hmm.
don't know which direction it will be in.
Right.
And it's not like because everybody knows that $23 is or even $20 is kind of ridiculous. They're like, that's either for the if you're looking at it from, okay, well, it looks like they have a solid plan, they're going to blow up. It's obviously going to be way, way more than that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're also looking at it from the, oh, this is we're just looking at the fundamentals and it's long term, and that's priced at like $3 or $5 for the assets after liquidation.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can totally like the $20, regardless of what side you're on, is kind of a ridiculous. And I say
Mm-hmm.
$20 just as a loose, roughly twenty
Right, of
dollars is what it's
course.
been for a while. It goes up
Mm-hmm.
and down. Right now, it's like what $24 at the moment or something.
Right now
Twenty three
it's
dollars.
22, yeah. Fluctuating. It's
22.
been kind of
Okay, yeah,
like, sporadic in my opinion, but very flat
yeah, but
lately.
that sporadic is it's the reason why it's so sporadic is because the price that it's at now isn't actually reflective of anything about the company's. It's pure speculation, and so that actually makes it more volatile when you
Mm-hmm.
have any tiny amounts of information about what the company may be doing. The a speculation is like 80% of the price right now. It's
Mm-hmm.
not like Apple where the price is it has all the information is out there. It's already converged on a price target, and it's a very stable stock. It goes up and down by only a couple percent.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then even when they have these huge announcement, it'll go like 5 or 10%. But that's not. It only is that much because the speculation doesn't affect it that much because at the end of the day, this is a big monolith of a company that already it has the fundamentals are there. People buy cell phones. People buy Apple products, and they price
Right,
them
like a stream
extortionately
of
high.
income
And
that they could
right, they
predict.
price them way too
Mm-hmm.
high, and in exchange, they offer really, really easy service. They walk in, they make the buying process easy. Their interface is easy. I don't like Apple products because I feel like they're anti-consumer, but I also understand
Mm-hmm.
that there's a reason why I, as an IT service provider, if somebody asks me, "Hey, which phone should I get?" If they don't know the answer is iPhone, clearly,
Right.
because if they have to ask, it means that they probably just want a simple phone. And
Mm-hmm.
so I can acknowledge that I don't really like Apple and still that their business model makes a lot of sense and
Yeah.
their products actually are really good products. I don't like the anti-consumerism, but their products are good. They have great battery life. They offer great screens and great experience to the user. They're not
Mm-hmm.
very repairable, but that's
Right.
just me working in IT and as a technician, I'm like, But my point is that the difference is that with GameStop or something like this, it's everything is speculation, and so those price swings are going to be massive based off of what the information people have about
Mm-hmm.
what the company is doing, and not just what the company is doing, but what the gaming industry is doing. As soon as
Mm-hmm.
GameStop went up by like went down just a little. A lot of games went down just a little bit when Nvidia announced their new graphics cards because they were priced way too high. And then when AMD announced theirs and they're a lot lower, they're like, oh, well, the speculation is, oh, people are going to buy more games if it's more accessible and the games will be faster. And so, it's not much. It's only like like a 0.5%, but it makes a difference. And all these little things, it's all speculation. And the fact that you can see these swings happen just when anything in the gaming industry happens. So yeah, I don't think $13 is accurate. I actually
Mm-hmm.
think around $20 is fairly accurate. And this is when if you're doing math on things like expected return, if you said, here's an example, if you flip a coin 50 times or 100 times, and you say for every time I flip a coin and it's heads, I get $1, and every time it's tails, I lose $1. You can flip it like a million times, and you're going to, on average, your expected return is zero because on average you're going to get nothing for every chance that you have of gaining. You're going to lose, and so that expected return is zero. And I think in this case, it's kind of like that, where people are um, it's a risk versus reward thing. That the reason why it's so low is even people that understand their new business model, also understand that it's hard to implement. It also is mostly speculative. It's very people, especially people like me. I still am more leaning towards this is actually very feasible. But for
Mm-hmm.
people that don't work in the gaming industry, it's still who don't really have a good deep understanding of the psychology of how people behave when they go and purchase cards and the gamification and the
Right.
especially a lot of these people that don't people might have their wives or husbands or whatever that play Candy Crush all day. Or I've seen a lot of like older people
Oh,
for
yeah.
some reason Candy Crush become really addictive. But there's actually Candy Crush hires psychologists specifically.
Uh,
They hired psychologists to figure out how to make these games more addictive and playable. And
mhm,
they, because the longer you play it, the more ads you watch, or to get rid of ads, the more things you buy. And
mhm,
they don't really make a lot of money selling stuff. Some people do, but they make their money through ads.
mhm,
But yeah, that's a whole thing. And so it's a proven strategy.
mhm,
And I'm not saying, and it can be negative, and I'm not trying to say it in that they're being exploitive, because they can, a lot of games do.
mhm.
But providing entertainment isn't inherently exploitative.
Right.
It can be if you're trying to purposely put gambling in some games, or have pay to win where
Mhm,
it can be, but it doesn't have to be. And so the same way that people go to arcades, and when you go to arcades and you play skee ball and whatever, you play all the pinball machines and stuff.
mhm.
I know now they're all digital, but you get my point.
Right, right.
You're everybody goes there knowing they're going to walk out with $5 worth of plastic junk. They just don't
Mhm.
care, because it's
Yeah,
the whole
because it's
point is
fun.
they have fun getting to actually play the game.
And
And
get to see
the
your
trying to
friends and all that stuff too.
right.
So
And yeah, that's another big. Some people go alone, but it's pretty rare. It's pretty rare. But
I
yeah, and
actually
it's
went to
being
this
able.
arcade, like physical arcade, that they serve drinks and food and all that stuff, and it's fun to have your friends kind of what is it called, competing. Oh, I could do better, stuff like that.
Yeah,
So it was a little bit of competition there too. It's kind of what this could
even
turn into.
the funny thing is that um, the idea of arcades weren't a thing about the age. It was more about the generation. And the
Mhm.
reason why some of the evidence for this is Chuck E. Cheese is fairly popular. Nickel City is kind of dead. But look at Dave and Buster's.
Yeah, yeah.
The same generation, and if you actually look at the data, so I'm actually going to encourage you to look at the data for the demographics that actually go to Dave and Buster's.
Mhm.
Every year it goes up by approximately a year, because it's
Mhm.
the same generation of people. It's the same group of people that went to Nickel City as a kid and Chuck E. Cheese is a little bit after,
Right.
that are now going to Dave and Buster's. So that's the other thing, is that it's not that it's dead, it's that it's a generational thing, because it's not accessible anymore.
Mhm.
But we still see the young kids going to GameStop. So it's not necessarily that there's something wrong with
Mhm.
the art, with anything today. It's that was more of a generational and cultural kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't really know where I'm going with that. I just wanted to throw that out there, because it actually
No,
is
you're
kind of
good.
important to understand that, and to really understand the context of why this can be such a
Mhm.
successful model. That we've
Mhm.
already proven that it works, and that people that have played these games, they obviously they
Mhm.
still like it. It's not like it's just for kids.
Right. I think it's
So
for any age, honestly. And Pokemon, right? It's like still
yeah,
for
but
kids.
Nickel City's boring to adults. I mean, it depends on where you go. Like Dave and Buster's, they're not. It depends on obviously you have to tailor it towards your
Mhm.
demographic.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that the idea of doing trading cards and stuff, you wouldn't believe the largest purchaser of like Pokemon cards are adults,
Mhm.
like above 40 years old.
Oh, yeah, of course.
They're
So do you
yeah, they're
collect any? Do you collect any?
I have a couple Magic the Gathering decks, and I'm not a hardcore player. I only got into it like a year and a half ago.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and I only recently started playing. I started doing like Dungeons and Dragons campaign with my coworkers. There's like 40
Mhm.
of us, or so, that
Oh,
like
okay.
there's people that paint Warhammer things on Thursdays and Fridays, and
Uh-huh.
there's I mean they're all programmers developing video games. Like they're
Right.
all nerds. So, or artists developing, and some of them like did figurines, and like did figurines, and now they work in graphic design, doing outfits and character
Wow.
design and body shape and monster shapes. And so it's
Mhm.
like they're all nerds that already have been doing this before they were working here.
Mhm.
But
What do you think of GameStop creating their own game studio?
um
I'm
I
not
don't think
saying
it's
they do that, but I'm just
right. I don't
speculating.
think that that's important. I don't think that it's a good idea either. I think that
No?
they should
Okay.
separate that. I don't think it's a good idea.
Okay.
Um, I don't know.
Does it cost a lot of
So
money?
actually, GameStop did. I just looked this up. I was curious, so I just went to Google and typed in GameStop's GameStop game development. It looks like they actually registered domains for GameStop Studios.
Oh.
They hired developers and a creative lead, and so there's a lot of game developers in Austin, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they opened in Austin, Texas might have been for that. Now, they've never announced anything. This is all just speculation because they did register the trademarks. They did hire small developers and creative developers.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's, they could. I don't really see it being a good model.
Mm.
And I don't know. I mean, I'd have to really think about that a little bit more before I form an opinion, but I don't necessarily think that it'd be a good idea to do that.
I mean, it could just be mobile games. It doesn't have to be like some A+ game. Was it A+? Am I saying that right?
I think that the market is saturated, and I think that because the market's so saturated, it's not.
Yeah.
It's hard to compete, and I think that they should focus on where they actually can make the most amount of money. I don't think they should allocate resources towards that. Mm-hmm. Also, mobile games are very difficult to make money on unless you're either making a really, really high-end AAA game, something like people play mobile versions of like Call of Duty and stuff, or mobile, like there are games people play on mobile that are like serious games.
Yeah.
But all those casual gamers, they really make their money through ads and nickel and diming you with pay to win. And I don't really see GameStop wanting to get involved or wanting to be associated with that kind of, because there's a difference between using the gamification to exploit the psychology of people having addiction to these kind of games and providing an actual value that makes it so that you can do what you're going to do anyway, but at the same price and still have that value add at the same time by making it more convenient. There's a difference between that because you can do one that it can be exploitive, but it doesn't have to be. And so I don't know. I'd have to give this a little bit more thought before I really answer properly.
No worry. I mean, we're just doing freeform here. I mean, typically I'm the smartest person in my show, so you're pretty good. You're doing great right now. So
I've never been on a show like this. I've never been on a talk show. This is a new experience for me for sure.
Hey, you're my first guest, so this would be a great talk show one day, for sure.
Someday it's going to be huge.
So do you think this is going to increase the revenue for the next quarter?
Next quarter? No. I doubt it. They're still, they haven't implemented anything. There's no way to really, right now, they're not really going to make much revenue from their games because, again, right now they are a dying business model. And I think it's only going downhill. Any revenue they make is going to be a fluke or short term or through Bitcoin
really?
games.
With the trading card?
Well, right now they don't make a lot of profit with that yet, and it takes time for this to be implemented and for people to actually start using this.
Well, with the last quarter report, did you look at it? I mean, they came out positive.
Well, they've been slightly positive, but it's just barely positive.
Yeah,
they've been barely positive for quite a while. But
let me see.
I don't see their revenue increasing very much until. Okay, let me look up their earnings report.
So it says here operating income is 24 million last quarter.
Yeah, it looks like they made about 20% of their revenue was just through their trading cards. Sorry, 25% was 25% of their revenue.
Right, but which flips the software. Software used to be a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Now it's like collectible is taking over. So I'm thinking like with this Push Start Arcade, I feel like that's an additional revenue stream that could at least beat, the expectation. Because the problem with the earnings report have been declining in revenue, and the medias keep beating on that until the end of time. But I feel like eventually they're gonna capitulate, and then we're gonna go the other way.
But the Push Start Arcade isn't really a real thing yet. It takes it's going to take a year or two for them to really implement that. And so I don't
I'm not saying that they're not going to be successful with that. I'm saying I don't think that this is going to affect next quarter.
I see.
And so I think if you're expecting next quarter to do a lot better, you're going to be really disappointed because this isn't these things. Even they take time. Amazon operated at a loss for a decade. You have to look at the big picture, and they knew that they were going to operate at a loss. They actually planned to operate at a loss
Right.
because the business model only worked if the prices that they're offering. They knew what they were doing when they were doing it.
Right.
It's the same thing here. It's that it's okay that they're going to not be making much of a profit, and they might even take a loss in the next little bit. It takes a lot of time, money, effort in order to shift a business model like this.
Right.
Even just the cost, trying to offset the cost to each individual store is going to be really hard. GameStop is going to have to eat the cost of a lot of these rebrandings. Push Start Arcade might even make more sense for them to rebrand GameStop as like Push Start Arcade by GameStop or something like that as their actual signage. It probably makes a lot more sense for them to change the store and implement things like laying out the store differently and setting up the models and setting up the point of sale systems to accommodate this kind of thing, and then the staff training, and this all takes a lot of money and time to do. And it's kind of like it's almost like starting a business from scratch,
Right.
except that you already get to use the name, which is helpful. Like a small business being able to use a name of a staff would be great, but it's kind of like that where that's why that this is so risky, is that you also are racing the clock, that it's going to take a couple years and a lot of money to do this. They have the advantage of having all this cash on hand.
Yeah.
And cash that yes, it's expensive for them to liquidate, but if they are, there are lots of tax incentives to go and reinvest in the business and hire people and do company training. You don't pay taxes on that, especially in California, or like a lot of states that have more progressive tax laws. They don't. There's no tax on if you go in and put all that money into the business. So that means that the low valuation because of the cost of liquidation, that doesn't really apply here. So yeah, it's
Right.
I don't think that you should expect next quarter or even the quarter after that to really turn a profit, if any.
Understandably.
And that's I'm not trying to, I have to be clear, I'm not trying to be negative here. It's just a realistic expectation that needs to be set here.
No,
that
you're
these
not allowed to
shifts-
speak negatively about this
No,
company
that
ever.
these shifts make the shift in business model just takes so long. It took Amazon 10 years to really get
No,
big.
of course.
You
Like,
saw them growing, and you even see their revenue kept growing a lot, but their costs were growing even faster
Right.
because they're so accelerating trying to build this out. And you could see that, and the reason why that everybody knew that they were still going to lose profit year over year over year, and yet the price kept going up because people can see that the business model makes sense, and they could see that it had value, and they could see everybody that even markets that they didn't have yet outside of books, you could see that people that were buying books that are willing to pay, it's like that worked, and they knew that was just books, but that it could work on anything. So
yeah. I mean, for sure, Ryan Cohen has been, a great leadership for this. And I think he's trying to beat Amazon in terms of not like selling everything, but like just on the gaming, anything gaming in general. So I don't know if you heard about Chewy, right? He was trying to beat Amazon, not like indirectly, obviously, because people keep comparing him. Oh, PetSmart.com and all that stuff.
Right.
And
so the thing is that when you specialize like that, you get better market efficiency. It's more efficient to run a business that specializes because you can focus on. Amazon doesn't, when they are jack of all trades, there are things that they don't do very well. For example, it's really hard for them to support at Best Buy if they sell a laptop, and the laptop, like some ladies buys a laptop or whatever, some guys or grandpa or whatever, they're older, and they don't really have a Microsoft account, and they don't know that you can skip signing up for it on Windows, and they try to sign in and they try to like click to verify their email and they can't do it. Sometimes they just go and return it, and they return it to Best Buy. And when they return to Best Buy, they say, "Oh, what was your issue?" "Oh, well, we're Best Buy. We're a tech. We have Geek Squad, and they're not super competent, but they're competent enough to be able to walk you through setting up your email and getting you dialed in." And that is a sale that not only did you not lose, but Best Buy doesn't have to pay restocking, because otherwise Best Buy actually has to pay money in order to
because it's a used device. They're selling it for $400 less now when you buy the open box models. They're not. So it's not just that they're losing the sale; they're losing value. And so by doing that, you're filtering all of that out. When you buy a laptop on Amazon and the first 30 days you have an issue, you just return it. So when you don't specialize in things, it's a lot harder to support the products that you have. When you're a jack of all trades and a master of none, you lose a lot of that efficiency. And what they lose in efficiency, they do make up for in bulk volume. But you can look on Amazon and check the prices of every single product. And I guarantee you, if you go to their website, I mean, I don't want to guarantee because actually there are some products that are underpriced or sold at a loss leading on Amazon on purpose. But most products on Amazon, you can actually go to AliExpress and you could search and find the exact identical product for a lot less money if you're willing to wait 4 to 6 weeks for it to arrive, or 2 to 3 weeks in some cases if it's small enough, or 7 days if it's really small and can fit over airmail. If you're willing to do that and take the time and go and hunt it down, you can do that. And yet people know that. Everybody already knows that. And they still go to Amazon. And it's less efficient to buy there. And but that, again, the value that they're adding, especially for people that just go and shop, the value they're adding is worth it. It's there, and we can demonstrate that because, So I think that GameStop needs, by specializing, they're going to probably take over. But already, people don't buy games on Amazon that much. Like parents do for Christmas and stuff. But look at how many Nintendo Switches were sold at GameStop and Walmart and other retailers versus on Amazon. And Amazon did sell a lot, but it's not. It's the proportionally compared to their sales of other products, they don't really have that market down. And it's because the same thing. It's like, also Amazon, you have the potential for high value items. You have the potential for fraud. The fact that Amazon, they're so large of a company, they don't have the resources to hire people that know how to check laptops for damage, or somebody bought a laptop, took the hard drive out and then returned it. People or specific types of cameras and for batteries to see if they're used or their battery capacity. For all these different things, when you don't specialize, there's no way to filter this out. So they just eat the cost. And when they eat the cost, they have to charge more to the customers. And customers pay it, don't get me wrong, but it's just not an efficient model. It's just the model is so big that they can make up for the efficiency by sheer volume. And so that's when GameStop, if they're able to specialize, they don't need to have as much volume to make as much revenue. They can make up for that inefficiency. And the fact that, and even now, people don't ask any gamer, like people who actually play games regularly and, have consoles and buy the latest Switch every time it comes out. They don't go to Amazon unless they can't find it anywhere else.
Right.
They just don't. So.
See, that's why I'm always laugh when people are like, "Oh, GameStop is dying and they're gonna go bankrupt in 5 years." I'm like, what?
It is dying, and I understand that. It's just, but I don't agree that it is going to go bankrupt in 5 years. It might, but they have a serious good business model that can be implemented.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's dying. It's yes. I mean, the category in which they're trying to overcome.
If they don't change, they're going to die. If they don't change what they're doing now,
which they are doing, where they're trying to pivot, they're trying to find a different business model to get into. So the leadership has been doing everything they can to do that. And so for people to be like, Ryan Cohen doesn't do shit, you've heard people, I guess give some criticism to him and I wonder how do you view him as a leadership?
He's very careful, and I think that he's very careful not to reveal anything that they might be doing until they really, really do the research and figure out if it's the right thing. And I understand that he's a little slow moving, and I think that that's a really safe thing. I think that's a really good bet. They have the cash to survive at least another. If they really wanted to just keep going until they're out of cash, they could survive 10 to 15 years and just go slightly more and more to loss for the next 10 to 15 years until they're out of money.
Right.
They have a good amount of time. Like they have a good amount of time to really sit and think things. They're not about to go bankrupt in the next 5 years. They will. I mean, at this rate, they are going to slowly burn and get burn through their cash until they are, and their value is going to go down until they're bankrupt eventually. But it's not like they have to rush to bring anything to market. And when people rush, they make mistakes. I'm not just people. When when a company rushes, they make mistakes. They have to be very strategic, and they want to, implement a little bit here. Let's put 2 or 3 stores this quarter and see how that does. Okay, let's open 5 new locations this quarter.
Mhm.
Okay, that really worked, but it didn't work in these cities, but it worked in this city. Why is that? Well, it looks at let's look at how many. Oh, that's weird. We noticed that the ones that are right next to schools make more, so let's focus on those ones.
Mhm.
There's putting it right across the street from a high school is a huge thing. You know how many people go to GameStops that are, look at the location, the revenue versus how close they are to a school. There's actually a pretty big correlation.
Mhm.
There's a pretty large correlation to the size of the store. I mean, there's also the correlation to the price of the store, like the price of the location. Retail stores that are right across the street from high school at a shopping center cost a lot more.
Mhm.
And they know that because retailers, like at restaurants, for example, they have their schedule such that they have the most amount of employees right when the school gets out.
Mhm.
So,
Right.
and you go to Subway and you're like, they have 6 people working for only, the part-time workers. They're like, they all happen to be overlapping so that right from like 4 to 6 p.m., right when, or from 3 to 5 p.m. when schools get out like 3:15 or whatever,
Mhm.
um, they have all their workers there because it gets real. They know that there's a flood there.
Mhm.
So these are all little things that have to be learned, and rushing to open a lot of stores is not going to be efficient, nor is it going to be um, it's not going to be good. And if they're shifting their business model, they really need to be careful, and because
Mhm.
again, they have the entire market. They don't have a case study that they can look at.
Right.
They don't have any other. There's no GameStop alternative. It's not like you say, oh, what's the alternative to like Samsung? Well, there's like you can get a Samsung phone, you can get iPhone. There's not really that alternative. You can get
Mhm.
Motorola phones, you can get Huawei phones, you can get. They don't. If you ask what GameStop's alternative is, they don't have one. It's just GameStop. So
Right.
they don't really have a case study to look at that they can copy,
Mhm.
and that's why they have to move so slowly.
Right. And I think, like that's why he's been like kind of raising money. And what do you think about like selling shares in order to raise as much money as they can in order to survive or thrive later on? What do you
Um,
think?
I don't think they need to sell shares yet, but I can totally see that selling shares also if they're selling shares to raise money, that also tells them how the market is or how people are. Sorry, what's the word? Sentiment. That tells sentiment.
Mhm.
It lets them know how people think they plan on doing based off of how eager people are to buy excess shares.
Mhm.
And so if they put more shares out there and the price drops a lot, they're like, okay, so it looks like everyone who already bought GameStop already bought it. But if they
Mhm.
put out some shares and the price barely goes and they get gobbled up and it only brings the price down just a little bit,
Mhm.
um, then that tells them that it's not that people are holding it because it's people are that wanted to hold it held it.
Mhm.
It's that price is more representative of the current value, and that as soon as the price goes down a little bit, people gobble them up because they're like, oh well, we still see value in this. We just
Mhm.
don't see that much.
Mhm.
That's information for them that tells them how
Mhm.
they can expect their stock to react.
Mhm.
And so I
Is it a good
don't
thing
think
or a bad thing that they do that? Like, because people, typically they would be so
I
mad
don't I
because.
I wouldn't say there's anything good or bad about it. It's
Mhm.
that sometimes companies do that. I mean, the good thing is that when you sell stock, you get to gain revenue, especially when you have speculative stocks like that. The same way that Amazon did. That sometimes when the price, the value of the company is way above what the actual fundamentals say they should be. Like for example,
Mhm.
Amazon. When you're like, well, looking at how much money they make, how much money they have, why are they so valuable? Well, what the good thing about that is if the price is a lot higher than the current fundamentals, you can sell only a small amount of stock and get a lot of money, which is way better than getting a loan. But you're getting a lot of money for a small amount, and your company is small anyway. So the amount of money you're getting from giving that company is a lot, and you can use that to invest in your company. And when you invest in it, especially if you already see that path, you can invest a lot more money and grow a lot faster. And the total
Mhm.
amount of extra valuation that you get is higher than the amount that you sold. And so I understand that you're using it as a tool.
Mhm.
Um, but on the other hand, you don't want to sell a bunch of stock when you're already kind of failing and when the valuation isn't that good and you also are trying to grow because you're selling a large
portion of your company
Mhm.
relative for the amount of money that you're getting.
Mhm.
And so if GameStop was only $1 or $2, if it was, and they were trying to sell this to grow, they're not going to get, they have to sell a significant portion. And the amount that they're selling also is signal. That's information saying, hey, their price isn't very good and they keep selling, which means that they're kind of desperate. That's
Mhm.
not a good look at all.
Right.
And
Mhm.
so you have to balance these. And so there's some pros and cons. But yeah, if they're selling stock and people actually see that what they're doing with it, if they're transparent, they say, "Hey, we have this plan. We're gonna sell some stock, raise some revenue to do this,"
Mhm.
and people see that that is actually a correct path to grow to very large growth. People will gobble it all up, and the price will go up. And the
Mhm.
fact,
Mhm.
and also even despite the fact that they're selling stock, sometimes the side effect of them selling the stock is, oh, they actually are about to do something. They have a plan to do something with it, not just sit on their ass, which is going to
Right.
make them fail. And that also might raise the price more than the amount that it's going to go down by selling, because
Mhm.
that's how market works. You sell a
Mhm.
bunch of stock, you supply and demand.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of nuance to it, and it's
Of
not necessarily
course.
good or
Like,
bad.
honestly, when I invest in GameStop, it's multiple things. It's not just the business side of it. No. I mean, the business side of it was not that big of a deal, right? It's the leadership for sure, like Ryan Cohen and what he's going to be able to do in the future. And ever since then, a couple years already coming in, like 4 years he's been in the company. And you see huge shift already. And one of the biggest thing that I'm kind of expecting the price to appreciate way more than this, like 10x from here, is the fact that the company is a holding company, just kind of like Berkshire Hathaway type thing, right? Where they will deploy the cash, whether it's buying more Bitcoin or some other businesses in order to grow the company as a holding company.
Yeah,
How
the
do you
thing
feel
is
about
that
that?
when they take cash, so that's something I want to mention. If they take cash on hand and then they purchase Bitcoin with it, and they have the same amount of Bitcoin, their valuation is going to go down a little bit, not up. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason is that Bitcoin is a lot higher risk.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have risk has value in that that having higher risk slightly decreases your value. And so that's more of like, again, speculative, almost like gambling, that if it pays off,
Mm-hmm.
they could potentially make a lot more money without selling their stock.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that could mean that they could grow their company without having to sell stock, which means that there's less stock available, which means that the total value, the dollar amount that's available for purchase is lower,
Mm-hmm.
or of the company. Therefore, each stock is going to be higher priced. And so there is that. Um,
Mm-hmm. I mean,
there's just
currently they're making 4% off of the cash on hand right now, 4.7%. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, I feel like it has bright future. I don't think it's gonna go bankrupt anytime soon. And as far as like the revenue, people make a big deal out of that. I understand like closing stores and stuff. It's necessary. They were too big, to grow into. And I mean, just like you said, there's no discretionary spending, right? And the economy is not doing well. So it makes no sense to keep those stores when you're losing money like crazy, right?
I'm sending you a link. 1 second.
Yeah. And so that's why I'm thinking, like, it's overblown. Like, of course, they're going to have to close down the store as quickly as possible.
Oh, I'm looking for this versus last year's. I'm sorry, I'm on my phone. I don't have my laptop on me, so I'm
No, you're
trying to.
good. You're good.
This is hard because it's like I'm trying to scroll through this, and it's like hard. It's hard to interpret this on the phone.
It's okay. It's a good thing we're not live. Huh? No,
It's okay, but
kidding.
I am trying to look up the. God, I don't want to have to scroll left and right on the stupid ass charts. Hang on. Okay,
Did you eat already?
I'm still eating now. I'm have my
Oh, I'm sorry.
plate of food on me here.
I hope you enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, this is good.
Okay, that means let's end soon.
Looks like most Redditors are expecting it to be around 55 million. I was comparing the numbers of. So what I'm trying to do here. Sorry, let me clarify what I'm trying to do here.
Mhm, mhm,
So I'm trying to take an amalgam of the 2 or 3 Reddit threads that were analyzing the stock price and the expected revenue on
Mhm.
quarter one last year and then quarter one this year
Yeah.
versus quarter two last year, and then see how close they were. Because if they're all fairly consistent, or if they're all overestimating a little bit or all underestimating a little bit,
Mhm.
that's enough. That's I can use that as speculation and apply their numbers and then put a similar offset to kind of see how, like, a napkin estimation of approximately what the market thinks it's going to be based off of their analysis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm not sure that I phrased that right. That was a lot of words. I'm sorry.
In
I think
in
you know
in
what I'm trying to
short,
say.
yeah, in
I
short,
think,
you could try to
yes,
predict the
I'm trying to see.
price.
I'm trying to see because it looks like Reddit last year had a pretty close estimation
Uh-huh.
on both quarter one and quarter two.
Uh-huh.
And so I was looking at quarter one this year to see if that estimation also lined up with what Reddit had posted months
Mm-hmm.
before. And if they're accurate enough, I could use that estimation based off
Mm-hmm.
of quarter two. Or if they were all precise but
Mm-hmm.
inaccurate, there's a difference that I think I mentioned this
Yeah.
yesterday. If
So,
they're very, if it's precise but it's not accurate and their numbers are a little bit high everywhere, then I know that the numbers might be high here and I could also estimate that as well.
mm-hmm.
So as
But
long as they're precise, I could kind of figure out what
right.
it should be.
Are you on Reddit a lot? Like on the
Um,
threads
Not
and all that stuff?
necessarily, but I do like to check Reddit because it is kind of the front page of the internet. Reddit
Mm-hmm.
is the place that everyone goes to when there's no other website to go to for this kind of thing and just
Yeah.
discuss things like this.
Mm-hmm.
Reddit is a good. I don't browse Reddit just to browse, but when I am like looking for a community of people that I want to look up information
Mm-hmm.
or ask information
Right.
or find advice, and it's not that the advice is necessarily correct, but I'm seeing a wide range of people
Right.
that are generally fairly intelligent because Redditors that aren't intelligent quickly get um,
Boot it out.
booted out. There's a social where people that are just kind of dumb, just they're like, "Oh, you idiot! Oh, we don't want to talk to you." You get downvoted, and you don't have a good time. So
I mean, my only
also,
other thought about Reddit is that it's been more corporatized, and I feel like certain things got downvoted, not because it's not smart or anything like that. It's kind of like becoming more censored. How do you feel about that?
um, I don't think it's becoming more censored. It's. I know that Reddit has. I mean, other than when you say corporatized, you mean I know there's a lot of ads and stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it became more censored. I just think that people have a lot lower tolerance for this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That when somebody spreads misinformation on Reddit, they quickly get downvoted into oblivion. And when you get downvoted, you inherently your post inherently is less valuable and less likely to be shown because a lot of people sort now.
But
No, I use
who's
the
the
old Reddit.
arbiter of what's good and what's not? Is it the
Literally
moderator,
you.
right?
No, literally you. Literally, the people that are on there get to upvote and downvote it. The moderator only gets
Mm.
one vote, like everyone else. So if you have something with 4,000 points, the moderators didn't do that. It means 4,000 people read it and liked it, and people that read it and
But
didn't
don't you
dislike it.
think that there's bots out there, like accounts that are like
Yes.
specifically
So
used to downvote
Red,
people?
yes, but Reddit is very, very good about bots. So for example, your if have you ever like read your own Reddit posts and you've clicked refresh and your points like seem to go up and down kind of randomly?
Mm.
Reddit actually dithers they actually dither the output, like the votes, so
Mm.
that you can't just upvote and down. Also, if you upvote and downvote like consistently and a lot more than everyone else, you get shadow banned where your account sees that it upvotes and downvotes, but you also can't tell if you're shadow banned because every time you refresh your page, the numbers that are sent through the API are very fuzzy in a way that you can't use analysis to figure out if you're shadow banned or not. The numbers that are displayed when it's like less than 10, it'll be fairly accurate. But even then, if it suspects you're a bot, Reddit is very good about blocking bots. And also accounts that don't have a lot of comments, they're a lot more likely to get flagged. You should look into Reddit's they have a very, very robust anti-bot mechanism.
Mm.
And so creating a bunch of accounts, you can't make an accounts without email addresses and sometimes phone numbers. If you have a phone number, you can actually vote and it's a lot easier. But also, again, IP filtering combined with it's very, very hard. And you can make bots that can vote 5 or 6 times on something, but It's not bots that go and upvote and downvote things into oblivion.
Mhm.
It's just people. So Reddit's actually one of my favorite websites about that because they have their data science. They publish the way that their mechanisms work, and they're very, very transparent in the way that they prevent bots. But they do it in a way that seems like they seem like a little dodgy because like they'll delay. For example, you click upvote or downvote, and they'll delay that for like a few minutes to like an hour, so
Mhm.
that when there's a lot of people voting, you can't actually figure out. And also, they'll display a different number of upvotes to each person. That's dithered within 2 or 3% usually. Like to every single person sees a slightly different number. They have the internal number. It's just not revealed, and it's a way that you're looking at it as a whole. Now, now one thing that I may or may not like is that I understand that now the algorithm does a little bit more weight based off of the newest comments, give it a little bit points. The ones that have more votes give it more points. My Reddit, I use the old Reddit, and I simply sort by the latest. So I just look at the time. And sometimes I'll go and manually click to look at the ones that are the most upvoted or downvoted, the most voted at all, because I want to see the ones that are read the most and had the most opinion to say. And the ones that are downvoted a lot, I'm like, well, this everybody hated it, but it was actually very impactful. Or it's the same way I go to Amazon and the first thing I do is read the negative reviews because I
Mhm.
want to see of all the people that have negative things to say about it, are these things that I care about? If every single person bought it and said, "Oh, I don't like it because it doesn't work with IR, I don't like this universal remote because it doesn't work with infrared. It only works." I'm like, well, that's fine because I don't need infrared, and everybody
Mhm.
here just doesn't know what they're buying. Or if they get it and say, "Oh, I don't like it. It broke in 3 days," I'm like, maybe I don't want to buy that.
Mhm.
So it just depends. So I also like I'm a little bit more. I look at things with a little more scrutiny, I think, than a
Mhm.
lot of people do,
Yeah.
and so I kind of like I don't mind I understand why the algorithm is doing that lately, where they kind of the comments that are more upvoted are close to the top,
Mhm.
and the ones that are and I know why they're doing that. I'm not worried about the vote manipulation because they're
Mhm.
very, very good at catching that. I'm more worried
Well,
about
there's
the
been
algorithm
a
showing
report
posts that people
where
want to see.
people were saying that anytime people were posting anything positive about GameStop, they would get downvoted,
Well,
get
that's
takedown,
also
or something like that.
well, it's not it's they get downvoted to the point where when you get downvoted enough, it says this comment has been hidden because of the amount of downvotes, and that's the ratio of downvotes.
Mm.
And yes, that is a sad truth of how social media works.
Mm.
But yeah, if you post something that's very wildly unpopular and
Mm.
it's super positive, if most people disagree with it, it's going to get downvoted. And
Mm.
it's the same way if everybody says, "Oh, everybody should buy GameStop right now. It's going to go to the moon." If
Right.
anyone posts that now, I would downvote that because you need to
Mhm.
look at things with more scrutiny. Do I
Mm.
believe in GameStop? Absolutely. But I'm not going to say, "Oh, everyone who got buy a bunch of GameStop right now, it's going to go to the moon." That's a lie. You can't just tell people that because then if it doesn't, and also, first of all, it may or may not go to the moon.
Right.
And if it's going to go up, it's going to be a long, slow burn. We're gonna actually,
Mhm.
it's not a magic bullet. It's not like some. It's not. It was a meme at one point, but it's not. It's not actually a meme. They have a legitimate. They're a legitimate business.
Mhm.
And if you're just telling everyone to buy it because it's going to go to the moon as
Yeah.
like a meme, that's the wrong way to look at it. I would downvote that too. And so
Mm.
it depends on how you're saying it and how realistic you are. Because Reddit doesn't necessarily downvote based off of how positive or negative something is. It's they downvote things that they when they disagree with it, regardless of whether or not the sentiment's the same. I do believe in Bitcoin. You know this, and I hold Bitcoin.
Mhm.
But I also understand that I'm not going to tell people that they should sell their land to buy Bitcoin.
Right.
Bitcoin is not for that. I would recommend in the short term if you're trying to hold something for 5 generations, or if your goal is I want to hold gold in case an economic collapse, stay with gold. If you're saying I'm holding
Right.
gold because I don't believe in the US dollar, I would say you should trade your gold for Bitcoin because if that's your goal, if you're okay with having economic collapse to the point where everyone's if you are like, oh, I don't care if there's a zombie apocalypse or whatever, like I'm dead anyway. If that's not your goal, then there's no reason to hold gold.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
and we talked about this gold. I think gold. It's not just that it has value a little bit, but also it actually has value as a currency specifically because it's malleable. It's easy to weigh. It's easy to identify. It's easy to test for. It's easy to tell if it's fake. It's easy to break into smaller pieces. It's easy to process. there's a legitimate reason why it is used as currency, because the metallurgy, the actual properties of the metal, is great for coins and currency. It's easy to carry and hold. It's when you trade it, you don't have to worry about having, the weight of it is such a specific density that it's like super easy, super different than us. So just you can look at it, and with experience, you look at it, feel it in your hand, and you know if it's fake. A quarter, I could replace a quarter with a higher nickel content, and you wouldn't notice the difference. But if I replace a gold coin with any other metal, you'll notice right away.
Mhm.
So it's, and I mean, now there's like special techniques you can use, like tungsten combined with there are ways that people can get around it today, but that's really hard to manufacture. It's not, back then they just melted metal in a puddle and poured it into a mold, basically.
Mhm.
So, and it didn't even have to be hot enough to melt necessarily, just hot enough that they could form it, like it's soft enough that they could just press it into a shape.
Mhm.
So, but my point is that it's the same way that I'm not going to tell people to sell their land to buy Bitcoin, because they serve different purposes. But anybody who already has gold, for example, and is buying, if they're buying gold and they already have land, they're like, well, I'm buying gold because I don't trust the US dollar, and I'm worried about the dollar will collapse, and I want to take the gold to another country. That is the exact situation in which Bitcoin is a lot more sensible, because it can't be taken from you. You can't lose it in transit. You can't be beat up and have it stolen from you. I mean, I guess you could in theory, but you put it in your head, you write it down on dog tags, or I mean, I don't know, you have a password maybe,
Right.
and you just use that password as a simple cipher where you just offset it by that lever. It's like it's really easy to hide your Bitcoin. It's just a couple words, and it's easy to scramble it.
Right.
But that's, so there
I
are
think the
so it
idea
depends
about
on what the purpose is.
Bitcoin is portability against gold, right?
Yeah,
It's a
well,
lot more
gold has a
portable.
high enough density that for most people, for most intents and purposes, gold is portable enough that they can get 1 bar of gold, and it's like $25,000. And
But
it's like,
try to get a bar of gold across border without getting
yeah, it's
caught.
pretty hard to do. And but again, that's what I mean, is that only matters. You can get a bar
Right.
of gold across a border, but that only matters
Or even
when
on the
you're,
plane, they don't even let you. They probably think that you're
um,
stealing it from someone.
no, you can bring it on a plane. You just have to declare it, and you have to basically show, like, you have to show, you have to declare it. You have to
Really?
show that you're not trying to hide it. If you bring 100,000 in paper cash on the plane, they're also going to stop you, because they're going to be like, well, there's something
Right, right.
suspicious.
That's the whole
But if you
idea.
say, hey, I have 100 grand in cash here, I took it out 6 weeks ago, or here I run a cash business, here's my tax returns, and you can see that it's cash, not card, and not through the bank.
Mhm.
Just providing a little evidence is enough. And they
Right.
just have to make sure that it's not that, you just have to show, like, hey, I'm not trying to hide, because if you're trying to hide it, they're going to think you're a criminal trying to smuggle money.
Right.
So that my point is that you can take, as long as your government's not authoritarianism, and let's be honest, the United States is kind of leaning that way over time. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Right.
That it's getting a little bit more authoritarianism, where some of these rules being put in place and are just getting, if that people that are worried more about government authoritarianism, where they're saying, oh, you can't take, even right now we have exit tax. It costs money to give up your citizenship. United States will tax you on any money you make anywhere, even if you never have any money or step foot inside of the United States in a decade. You can be making money in another country and spending it in the other country, living in another country, and they still want their 26% federal income tax.
That's ridiculous.
So it's, as long as you hold a citizenship, it's the cost of having citizenship, even if you're not using the resources. So,
Yeah.
and it's like that.
It's crazy.
Already, it's like it's already hard to leave, and that's kind of the point. Is that if people are worried about the U.S. dollar collapsing, the United States is going to be very scared to let people take their assets outside of the United States. And so, in that case, Bitcoin makes more sense.
Right.
But I'm sorry, this is a big tangent, but my point is that I'm not going to, the same way that people might say, like I might say, hey, no, this is bad advice. You don't tell people to sell their house and buy Bitcoin and go all in. That's really stupid. I'm going to
Right.
downvote it. That doesn't mean I don't think that Bitcoin's going to go up. I just still think that's not very sound advice.
Right. Right. I mean,
So it's the same way that GameStop actually, if people are realistic and understand that it is risky,
but
it
what
might
the
fail.
point
They have good.
of Reddit is to have those type of ostentatious, view, and people would like,
Well,
whether they like
that's
it
why
or
you
not.
can.
Yeah.
that's why you can still see it.
Yeah.
So you can actually click it and you can see anything that people post.
Mhm.
I mean, they block certain things that, for example, certain kind of racism, hate speech, things that are blocked.
Mhm.
Sometimes they actually allow hate speech on purpose because they're like, well, we think this is valuable for people to see. However,
Mhm.
everybody that disagrees with it is going to downvote it. So you can read the information
Yeah.
and you can also see that 94% of people disagreed with it and said this is wrong. You can also see the comments on it. So I don't have an
Mhm.
issue with Reddit.
Yeah.
There are certain subreddits where sometimes people try to moderate things, but in
Mhm.
general, Reddit's actually very good about,
Yeah.
and usually that gets shut down pretty quickly, but
Mhm.
Reddit's very good
Oh
about,
yeah, that's what I mean. I mean subreddit. Like people have control over that.
yeah, but there's built-in mechanism for that, and usually even within subreddits, Reddit is really, really good about having that kind of those kind of moderation gets quickly removed really quickly because as soon as they're suppressing certain kinds of ideas, the other thing is then it's organic. You remember like Bitcoin versus the Bitcoin cat. Bitcoin they just when they got basically left when they couldn't post anything about Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, people just went and made a new subreddit specifically for Bcash
Mhm.
instead of Bitcoin Cash. It's the same thing. As soon as that happens, people just make another subreddit for it and talk about it,
Right.
and it just forks into until you have two sides.
Something.
So I don't actually have an issue with it. It's just that you have to know how to use discretion. You have to understand people's behavior, and you have to understand, um, yeah, just how to use discretion when you're reading things. You have to have the discretion to read something and say, well, this is just one person's opinion. Oh, it looks like a lot of people that are saying this get uploaded or upvoted, and the comments will usually, if they have enough of, if it's controversial enough, or if there are enough downvotes or upvotes, people will actually comment their opinions on it. You'll notice there's a lot of comments explaining why that, and you'll be able to read exactly why people downvoted it or upvoted it.
Mhm.
So I actually think that Reddit is a great source of information.
Mhm.
Okay, there's a caveat to that. That came out wrong. Reddit, it's a great source of getting information. Whether or not the information is correct, you need to use discretion, but you can see
Right.
all this information. And you
Mhm.
can also see it almost has a built-in fact check because Reddit actually is notorious for fact checking. That when you are wrong, people will comment with all the data and all of the links and tell you why you're wrong.
Right.
And that will quickly get upvoted and people see that and then start downvoting it. So there's almost a built-in social fact checker.
Yeah.
Fact checker. And so you have to use a little discretion. If you go specifically to the Donald Trump subreddit, or if you go specifically to the Biden subreddit or Obama subreddit, you're going to get more people. Obviously, there's a certain demographic of people there
Right.
that are
Who
going
would
to,
subscribe to those?
or the same way. I don't subscribe to them either. I haven't visited them. I'm just
Right.
using this because this is obviously something that's
Example.
very politicized and very polar. And so this is a great example. So if you say, oh, Obama versus or if you say Trump versus Hillary, and you just go, I'm not putting any opinion there. I'm just saying if you look at the Trump subreddit and then you look at the Hillary subreddit, both of them are going to have a lot of bias there. And so
But the
there's not.
bias towards like like a certain page get pushed more on the media side of thing. That's what I'm trying to talk about. Like they would mention it and as if it's the arbiter of truth when it comes to meme stock, quote unquote.
Sorry, give me 1 minute. I'm trying to
No,
connect
you're good.
something.
You're good.
Um,
Yeah, you eat.
1.5 hours is good. I didn't realize it had been so long.
I know. I mean, every time I talk to you, this is what happened. Like, time just passed.
Well, yeah, you're a really good conversationalist, and you
No, I'm
you're
naturally
really
curious,
intelligent.
and you have so much information that I'm
Well,
like,
no, but it's you do too, and you're intelligent, and you like
Aw,
to
thank you.
you also like to do research and talk about things, and you actually think through things. Like you wouldn't believe how many people just don't think things through. Like it's almost like they lack critical thinking skills, and it's like you actually listen and you think about things, and you ask questions based off of it, and it's like you actually try to understand things, and that's. I know that sounds dumb, but it's so rare nowadays. I
Like,
swear.
isn't that like what we're supposed to be doing and not believing everything you hear?
Oh yeah, but you wouldn't. But people don't do that anymore.
I know. Yeah.
If it's about all the hype and speculation, that's always short term, because at the end of the day,
Hmm.
if the price is being artificially inflated past the fundamentals, it's never going to pay out that way.
Right,
I
right.
mean, so I think that's kind of dangerous. I don't like to factor in the
Hmm.
speculation. So whenever there's like speculation, it goes and it jumps up really fast.
Right.
Some of it, like, it's hard because it generally means that something happened to make everybody all speculate it and get really high, and that makes the valuation high,
Hmm.
and that does increase the value. But you have to figure out how much of that is actually truly because of the valuation is higher,
Hmm. Hmm.
and how much of it is because everybody just wants a piece.
Right.
And so generally, when everyone says, "Oh, they're going to be so big someday," and
Hmm.
they go and buy in, it's like, are you going to make a profit by buying it at that high price? If it jumped to $30 right now and everyone bought
Right.
in, and it jumped up to
Hmm.
40, if you hold it long term, yeah, that you could pay off, and
Right.
you won't get as good of a deal, and you're going to
Hmm.
feel like you overpaid, like you could, but it would be better to just
Right.
wait it out and let it stabilize and buy and have everybody have it
Hmm.
trickle in over time. Some people win more, some people lose, and some people
Hmm.
sell and may take advantage, and some
And
people trade on
yeah,
volatility. And
honestly, they're trying to short squeeze people, right? The people that are shorting have the short position. Still, I don't know how you feel about that. Do you think that the short hasn't covered yet, or
um,
what do you think?
I think that a lot of places have actually have covered most of their shorts,
Hmm.
and a lot of them have not. There's
Okay.
still a lot of short. I'm sure that some of them haven't. I don't. I can only speculate on which ones have and haven't.
Hmm.
Some we did see a lot more
Well, I
increase
mean,
in.
just right here alone, it says 16% short interest still. Um,
That's not a lot. Now the thing
no?
is, that's not really that much. The thing is that you'd expect like a good 30. I don't know. You'd expect like good 20-30% of people to be really short on it, and
Well,
some people
Volkswagen, remember
not necessarily
Volkswagen?
that they will short it, but I'm saying that
Hmm.
there's going to be a good amount of people that are going to be shorting any stock that they
Hmm.
think is going to go down,
Yeah.
and usually they're not shorting it. They're not. Usually they don't do it in a way unless they already have the stock
Hmm.
or they already have control of it or something. Like if you're
Right.
um
Small
they
enough that they don't sweat it. That's what you're
yeah.
saying. Yeah.
So it's if you're doing yeah. So usually the problem with that is that technically you you stand to lose infinite money depending on, I mean, if it goes up to infinite, like technically there's no limit to how much you could potentially lose, because if you're shorting it and you have to purchase it back in order to sell it at that price.
Right.
So it's
But what people were speculation, even for me too, I feel like this is just reported short interest. We don't know what the actual, something that we don't know. Like, have you
well,
heard about
reported short
that where,
interest.
there's a hidden short interest somewhere based on swaps, based on, the covered call or naked call that's being sold out there? Who knows? I don't know. I'm just like
Yeah, but
speculating.
again, it's a zero sum game. So for every person that is selling a short, someone has to buy it by definition, which
Hmm.
means that however many people are going short, someone else has to also agree or be going the other way.
Hmm. Like the
So they cancel
counterparty
out.
risk or time thing.
Right. They counteract. So the thing is, you can't sell, and if you can't counteract it, the price is going to change of the contracts, and that will reflect, and that the price. For example, if you have these contracts, and they're, for example, if you're selling these calls, covered call contracts, um, and the price suddenly shoots up really really high, it means that, hey, these people really really think it's going to go up a lot.
Hmm.
Therefore, they're willing to pay out the ass to get a hold of one of these contracts, knowing that if they doesn't go up, they just lost that money they just paid for it. And
Hmm.
so that already is a built-in, that tells you, that is information right there.
Yeah.
So it's like, and also the fact that if it's shooting up, it inherently means that more people are trying to buy this contract than are trying to sell it. And it also means that the other contracts going the other way, like
Hmm.
cash secured puts, they're going to drop in value a lot, because people are not going to want to hold on to the cash secured puts, that for the
Yeah.
same reason why whatever information that made more people want to buy or think the stock's going to go up,
Hmm.
that's
Hmm.
how much that same information means that less people are thinking it's going down. Like by definition, it's a
Hmm.
zero sum game. It literally is a net zero game.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's hard because when someone says, "Oh, everybody thinks it's going to go up," well, I'm like, if everyone thinks it's going to go up, then the price would be high, and the fact that it's not means that that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
So, and maybe more people do, but not the same volume, because maybe fewer people, but who have a lot more money, think it's going down.
Right.
So that's kind of why I'm like, it's really hard to convince me that there's about things like hidden, where there's like hidden short interest and stuff, because
Yeah.
if there really was that much, that means there's just as much of someone else that think the opposite, or is willing to even entertain those contracts, or
Well, I think the point that people were trying to make is that, because remember the Financial House of Committee or whatever, they did a report on GameStop and they put it out there. Did you hear about that one?
nope.
Yeah, the Financial Committee did a report on GameStop, like, you know, when it was short squeeze, quote unquote. And in that report, it says that hardly anyone was doing any covering at all. So the price that you saw that happened back then, it was just purely retail. No short covering, nothing like that. So that's why
retail
when
is going
people
to be heavily overinflated anywhere. Anytime it's mostly retail.
right,
Retail
but it was
investors-
not due to short covering the stock. You follow? Right? So that's why people speculating, okay, when are they shorting and when are they covering? Because of course people are like, well, it's spiked back, right? Like if you look at the price action. So at what point did they cover? And so
For
if
all
the
I know,
price
they could
coming
still be-
down and down
still be
and down,
covering
that
this
means
day.
that they have not covered. See what I mean?
Yeah, or
Yeah.
it could mean that it could mean that they are still covering it, but it's still just going down. And
Or they're
the
just
thing is,
triple on their short position.
yeah, when they I mean, you're moving the price anyway. If they're shorting it, they're going to move the price because people assume that they have information that you don't. Or if for example, if you walk in a room and every single person tells you that you're wrong, and every single person in that room tells you, hey, no, that's not how it works, then you might be like, oh, well, wow, I must be fundamentally misunderstanding something. I don't really know quite where I got it wrong, but the fact that every single person here told me I'm wrong means that maybe I should be going the other way. There's a psychological experiments. You put someone in an elevator, and you go and walk in an elevator, and there's a stack of helmets, of bike helmets, and one person gets in an elevator and then puts on the helmet, and you see the next person get in the elevator and put on a helmet and stand next to him like there's nothing. They don't know each other, and then it stops on another floor and someone puts on a helmet, and every single person
Yeah, I
except for
saw that
one, there's
one.
the study,
Yeah.
they go and they put on a helmet, and it's like this is psychological
Like
experiment has been
peer
done
pressure
100
type
different ways. 100 different ways, and it's not peer pressure, because they're not peer pressure is different. That's where they're encouraging you to do something.
Oh, okay.
This is that people assume that they assume that
Mm.
they are missing some information, because people act on information in their own best interest.
Mhm.
And so the fact that all these people walked in and put on a helmet, they're thinking, oh, they know something that I don't. And if there wasn't a reason, they wouldn't do it. And if
Right.
the fact that they're doing it and they're so nonchalant means that they obviously they
Know
understand the
something,
reasoning
yeah.
for it. So therefore they have information I don't. They're acting in their best interest. Therefore I should do the same. And so that's actually a logical, even from a logical standpoint, not even peer pressure. That's an actual purely logical conclusion.
Right.
Like that's mathematically logical to think that.
Yeah.
So it's the
Well,
same
it's
way that
also
if
the
you
same
see,
way, right, on the short position too. Like they probably
that's exactly
short. The reason why they short is
you got my
because
point.
they
So you got
follow
my
each
point
other.
exactly. So
Yeah.
when people are shorting the stock heavily, that actually is the reason it goes down. That's the reason the stock goes down when it shorts is not because they're shorting it. It goes down because people see, I mean, a little bit. That does affect the price a little bit, not very much at all.
Mhm.
What actually is affecting the price is the fact that, wow, 90% of people are betting on it going down and they actually have money in the game. If 90% of people of the money thinks it's going down, there must be some serious information that I'm missing. And then a little bit more people. So it kind of makes it sway faster.
Mhm,
And so
mhm,
when people are shorting it, what actually drives the price down is the fact that people know that they're shorting it.
mhm, mhm.
So
Yeah.
the fact is that nobody's going to short it in private, because that defeats the whole purpose of shorting it.
Mm. Okay.
But
Well,
that's kind of
I mean, that goes back to more fundamental, like
Mhm.
more theoretical / fundamental economics, like and game theory and
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, so let's just end it here. But I appreciate you coming in. You could stay on the line, just
Okay.
end the
You're gonna end
little
the recording.
recording thingy. So, all right.
yeah.